Today, you can see, we still got the buggy here in the garage, and I'm looking down underneath, and just like any Volkswagen, it's left its mark. We're working with the valves. Socket wrench is probably better idea than the socket wrench. They do make a tool for this. I don't personally own it just because, you know, I've got a socket wrench. That's not a socket wrench. Volkswagen manuals usually all tell you to roll the engine backwards, which would be, I think, would be counterclockwise. Nope, it would be, let me get this right. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'd like to take this time to thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Every view counts and matters. Today, you can see, we still got the buggy here in the garage, and I'm looking down underneath, and just like any Volkswagen, it's left its mark. Kind of thinking maybe this thing's been sitting for so long that maybe the main seal's probably dried out. When we started up and ran it, it may have damaged it a little bit. I don't know. I'll be crawling underneath the buggy here pretty quickly, and I'll take a closer look at it. But yeah, today I'm going to go through a valve lash adjustment, and probably lots and lots of videos out there, but I'm going to make one. I don't know how many other videos, Volkswagen videos you guys watch, but hopefully you enjoy this one and learn something from it. First thing first, we're going to need some tools. Going to have to roll the engine over, so you're either going to have a big 30mm monkey wrench, or if you're lucky enough, sometimes a 30mm socket will fit. And I'm kind of looking here at this this situation, and let's see. Looks like I'm going to be in luck, and the ratchet wrench is going to work, but I'm still going to hang on to the big monkey wrench just in case. The other basic tools you're going to need is a 13mm wrench, or again, you can use a socket wrench. The box end wrench is probably going to work better than the socket wrench on the valves. But on the valve covers, I see this one's got bolt-on valve covers, so probably a socket wrench will work there. You'll need yourself a set of feeler gauges and a screwdriver. They do make a tool for this. I don't personally own it just because, you know, I've got a socket wrench. That's not a socket wrench. I've got a 13mm wrench and a screwdriver. That works just as well. And I work with other different types of rocker arms. The ones I have on my personal engine are Gene Berg. And Gene Berg's rocker arms actually, I think, take a 1/2" wrench and not a 13mm. And they use a Allen wrench or Allen key instead of a screwdriver. I don't remember what's on this buggy yet. I'm assuming, I think the last time I looked at it, they were basically standard stock. I won't know until I pull the valve covers off. I can't remember if we had the valve covers off on this thing or not. So I may get surprised. I may need to go grab some more tools. We'll see when we get that far. First things first, when you're going to do a valve lash adjustment, it's best to have the engine cold. We had just ran this engine last night just to make sure it ran, and it sat overnight, and that should be nice and cooled off. And the other thing is, we're going to have to make sure that it is on top dead center on its compression stroke, not its exhaust stroke. It's very important. And there's two different ways to come up with that. Number one is to take the distributor cap off, roll the engine over so that the pulley, this actually has a degree pulley on it. We'll make sure that says top dead center, and then pull the distributor cap and see where the rotor is pointing, and hopefully it's pointing at number one. And number one is always going to be over here on the passenger side towards the front of the car. And then after we get that all set, we are going to work basically backwards. We're going to roll the engine over backwards till it's on bottom dead center, and we'll do number two, and then we'll go back over. Sorry, it's Michigan and the heaters are going. Just the other day we had the doors open and we're running this because it was 60 degrees, and the day before that was 80 degrees. We're in springtime Michigan and never know what the weather's going to be like. But yeah, so on and so forth. We're going to go from 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And if you can't tell, most of your engine tin has the, well, this number's cut off because someone put a breather in it, but most of your engine tin has the numbers right on them, so you know which cylinder you're on. The other way you can do this is to actually go in the firing order, but it actually causes you to go back and forth, so you would start with 1, and then you'd go to 4, then you go to 3, and then to 2. But the Volkswagen manuals usually all tell you to roll the engine backwards, which would be, I think, would be counterclockwise. Nope, it would be, let me get this right. I gotta move over here. The engine runs clockwise, so you're gonna be spinning it counterclockwise. Actually, the way I remember that is you're actually like trying to loosen the nut. And loosening the nut, sometimes the nut will loosen depending on how tight it is on there. So yeah, let's try to find top dead center. First thing we need to do here is pop off the distributor cap here. And that's pretty easy. There's just a couple of clips here. If you can get some room to work, just use our thumbs. There we go. It just comes off, and thing you remember with these distributor caps is there's a little flat spot here. That lines up with the flat spot on here. That way you know you got it on there right. And oh, this distributor is not in there right, because there's the mark for number 1. And I know number 1 spark plug wire was way over here. Something long, a friend of mine would say. So I think we're going to be stuck into static timing this thing again before we get it all started back up. But yeah, let's grab a wrench here. I was playing with the timing yesterday. I don't think I messed that up. Buggies are nice to work on for the fact that the engine's all open. But when they've been running at Silver Lake, they're full of sand. That's the bad part about them. And the other thing is a lot of times the headers are like right in the way. I'm used to working on sedans. Oh, we're coming up on compression. That one's gone forever. Alright, pulley's at top dead center. But that's going to be a top dead center for number 3. So we got to keep going around. Alright, yeah, like I said, number 1 pointing that way. I don't know if you guys can see this little nick in here, but on a Bosch Distributor, 009, that's pretty much marked where number 1 is. And kind of the reason that's important, especially like if you're in a sedan, is my understanding, I have no way of testing it, but they always say they always said that they set these with a little bit of retard for number 3, because number 3 is generally right in line with your oil cooler, especially on the later models when they have the doghouse. I think I showed you guys before where the oil cooler actually sets, you see me there? Where the oil cooler actually sets behind the fan shroud and the air is ducted through it. This has got the earlier style oil cooler where it's actually in the fan shroud. So that's actually blocking cylinder 3 and 4. I personally don't like running these, but I didn't build this engine. Of course, I want to talk, the furnace comes back on, but guys, I know it's my bad angle, my bad side, but I thought I've seen everything in this industry. I hope it's not true, but the gentleman that owns this buggy, he wound up buying it from a gentleman who said that a professional buggy shop built this engine, and we're talking, I don't know, 15 years ago, and so they paid like $5,000. I mean, 15 years ago, that would have been a top-notch engine. Nowadays, you can build a pretty decent engine for $5,000, but from what I'm seeing here, it looks like it's got stock heads. I don't really know what they are. I think it said 040. Yeah, it looks like it says 040, which I think is probably a pretty decent head, but I don't know what it's got for valves in it. I am surprised it does have chromoly push rods in it. So we were getting at earlier, they look like they're stock rocker shafts. If you look right here, that's the intake valve with no nut. Here's another intake valve, no nut. There's no locking nut on it, but I can see it's got swivel feet, or what some people call elephant feet. Actually, these I think are more of a swivel foot, but they're backed all the way out. So I'm almost thinking, when I've tried to build these engines, the 125 rockers are a bugger. I mean, these are stock rocker shafts, but I think they're a 125 lift. And a lot of times we actually have to go and machine or grind down the backside to get some adjustment room. But I think someone just stuck these on there and backed them all the way to the end and said, hey, we're good. But I can tell right now that I'm not going to be able to make any adjustments here because that's tight. And actually, this one over here is perfect. But yeah, you're not going to want to run that rocker shaft that way. So I got to call my buddy and see what he wants me to do. I'm probably going to have to take these rocker arms off and do a little machine work, or put a stock adjuster in there. Sometimes I just shake my head and wonder why I do everything right. Well, I should rephrase that. Why I think I do everything right. I'm not as big a hack as I think I am. There's a good one. I should put that on a banner or a t-shirt. Yeah, you never know what you're going to find on a dune buggy. But yeah, let me make a phone call and see what's going to happen here. So hang tight, guys. Well, I'm back. Had to make a phone call, talk to my buddy, and hopefully he relays it to his dad. But I gave him, I think, 4 or 5 options on what to do here. Option number 1 is we could put it back together, roll it out of the garage, put it back on the trailer, and he could take it home. Option number 2 was actually changing out these adjusters for stock style adjuster. And I really don't want to do that because those are really hard on the valve stems. Option, see where we're at. That was option 2. So option 3 was to take some of these shims here and actually shim out the rocker shaft. That's something you kind of do when you're kind of figuring out your rocker geometry, and it would change the geometry what we have here, but judging by what we've got here, I'm going to assume that the rocker geometry wasn't even attempted. Option 4 would be, like I mentioned earlier, taking the rockers off and grinding the inside of the rocker here in order to give it more adjustment. That would probably keep the geometry the same, and it's typically what I pretty much do when I'm setting up these type of rockers. I'm gonna take a look here. I still don't know if those are 1-to-1 ratio or 1-to-5-to-1 ratio. I'd have to get a stock set and kind of compare them, which I'm going to be doing here anyways because I got to find some nuts for the ends here. I need 4. Well, I'm thinking I need 4. I don't know what the other side looks like yet. Option number 5 is actually to go and check and set the geometry. We decided not to do that. We're going to go with option 3 and put these shims underneath the rocker arms and see where we come out from there. For one, I'm working for free. Actually, I told them, since I'm putting more time into this than I thought we were going to have, so basically I told them, I'll work for hamburgers and we'll put the shims underneath. If I was to go and set the geometry and stuff, that'd be working for a steak dinner. But yeah, I'm here to help out, and we're going to see what happens with these. Yeah, we're going to have to go and find top dead center again after this is all over with. Right now I want to kind of even these springs out because I got to take this all off, and when you have them, one of them really compressed down, this one's not too bad. They'll want to pop, and you risk the chance of stripping out a thread. So we're going to roll this over a little bit and see if we can get to where we're all closer. We'll see how that works. It's already got shims underneath there. Someone did attempt to do something. I don't know what. The tough part. That's all back on there. Okay, got it on. You can see I've got a little more adjustment here. We got some room there, and we got lots of room there. Loosen up this one over here. The trick with these swivel feet adjusters is there's a little ball in there, and the ball has a flat side. So when you're putting these on, you gotta make sure that flat side gets up against the valve. And since these are steel, probably a chromoly push rod, generally the rule of thumb is to set them at what they consider a 0 lash. So that's pretty much tight enough to where you can still roll over the push rod. I still like to run a feeler gauge in them. It feels nice and snug. Make sure that's still rolling. Now we're going to do the same here. See, hopefully there's no Loctite in this thing. Nope, that's good. Alright, that's good and tight. But I gotta go find a jam nut for it. Okay, so we got the jam nuts on there. Double check. It was a little tight because I just was playing with it a little bit. There we go. It's a little better. I'm looking at the stock ratio rockers that I took the jam nuts off of. They look just like these. You can tell that we're basically where this hole placement is in the rocker. And these are in the same exact spot as the stock ones I got up there. Snug this one up. Oops, see, it turns. You gotta be careful. They want to turn when you tighten them. Double check, double check. Feels good. And they seem to be kind of even in and out. I do like to have them kind of closer to the rocker. I don't know if you can see, use the pointer here, where this head is. If you get too much of the threads past the rocker here, you'll risk a chance of breaking these. So now we are going to back the engine up to BDC, or bottom dead center, which will put us at compression stroke top dead center on number 2. I know, it's kind of confusing. Actually, this pulley's got the number 0 on it. It's got TDC for top dead center, then 0 for bottom dead center. Close enough. So we got some slack. That's good. Okay, now we roll the engine back over one more time till it's on TDC backwards, and we'll wind up being on compression stroke for number 3 on the other side of the engine, but then we'll have to put the valve cover and stuff on here. So let's get that done. I'll see you on the other side and see what kind of excitement we got underneath that valve cover. Well, here we go, guys. We're going to remove the valve cover and see what kind of surprises we have on the inside. And yeah, you guys are on my good side today. And this one's got all its adjusters on it. This one's all banged up though. I wonder why that is. Crazy what you'll find. So I've already rolled the engine over to the top dead center for number 3 here. So like the valve lash is really good on this side. So let's roll her over, see what happens for number 4. And try to get a good look at that rocker arm. No, that was wrong. I figured this one was going to be tight. I don't know why the rocker or the soda foot looks all beat up. I can't tell if there's a ball in there or not. I'm going to loosen that one up. Yeah, I'm not seeing the ball on that. Let's take it off. The other thing, it's got these are a single valve spring. I don't know if they're a heavy duty single valve spring or if they're a stock single valve spring. I myself prefer to run a, especially if you got a performance cam. I mean, if it's a stock cam, you probably get away with just running a single heavy duty. But I like to run a dual valve spring. It keeps the lifter on the cam profile, especially when you're running like a heavy steel push rod. Well, there looks like there's a ball inside there, but it looks like it's all seized up. There's nothing rotating around in there. It's probably the valve stem being all beat up. And I don't know if I have one of these swivel feet. Fun. Well, I'm going to go take a look at my parts, see what I have lying around. I know I've got some spares, but I think they're more of the elephant foot style and not this style. Hang on. All right, guys. Getting ready to put the rocker arm back on, assembly back on, and I took a little closer look, and I see I got a washer, a spacer, and just a spacer over here. That's crazy. So I'm going to go grab the other shims. I wasn't going to put them on the side because I didn't think I needed, but after looking at this, yeah, they got for some reason, they decided they needed to space the rockers, but they only spaced one side. I have no idea why they would do something like that. But hey, we're having fun. We're learning what not to do. Okay, we managed to find a swivel foot. Actually, you see it's just a little bit different color. All right, let's get some adjusting done here. I don't remember if I explained earlier, but basically we just tighten it down until we can spin the push rod. And I'll point out again that these are steel chromoly push rods. When you're setting an aluminum push rod, being the expansion rate is different, you will set those more by the book, which is generally 3 to 4 thousandths. Some of the earlier books say for like the 25 horse motors that you're probably going to want to run actually the exhaust a little tighter than the, or no, excuse me, I'll rephrase that. The intake's a little tighter than the exhaust. So in this case, I'd probably run like 3 thousandths on the intake and 4 thousandths on the exhaust. The reason being is the exhaust valves tend to get a little hotter due to the hot exhaust gases passing through them. There, now to roll it around again to number 4. All right, guys, we're on to number 4 here. This will be a little tighter. Loose these up without busting your knuckles. It's already loose, that's because that's the one I changed. All right, plain and simple, pretty easy. Now it's just pretty much to get the valve cover back on, and like I said earlier, I'm going to have to move the distributor around and set the static timing, and then we'll be firing this baby back up and seeing how it runs. But yeah, if there's any questions, please leave a question. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. And if you like what I've got going on here, I probably don't ask enough, please subscribe. But yeah, until next time, as always, keep shifting those gears, and we'll see ya.
I was just another guy